Do wars really begin because of geography, the way Strait of Hormuz is, the way Gulf countries are, or it is because of leadership choices? Is the decision-making failure? One who makes the decision in the boardroom, in the parliament, or individually with their own advisors, the leader who takes the decision. Somewhere that leadership decision has failed. So instead of going for war instantly, applying Dand, as Chanakya said, apply Sam, Dam and Bhed. Niti Shastra is of much use. What were those signals available in Sam? What were the warnings seen there? And what could have been done as part of Dam and Bhed? One did not appreciate. I wish President Trump had appreciated them. Namaskar, Jai Hind. In the world when war is going on, everyone is engaged towards Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, President Trump, Netanyahu, and poor Iran. Why everyone into this imbroglio? I will talk about the real crisis. It's not Hormuz. It's definitely not Strait of Hormuz. It's the leadership failure. Namaskar, Jai Hind. Greetings to everyone. Right now, the entire world is fixed on one narrow stretch of water, the Strait of Hormuz. Missiles, warships, oil prices, global panic, everything is looking very, unpromising. The peace is far away from this area and the life is not going to be easy. But let me ask you something more uncomfortable. Do wars really begin because of geography, the way Strait of Hormuz is, the way Gulf countries are, or it is because of leadership choices? Today, I want to shift the conversation from crisis to leadership behind the crisis. Why actually crises occur? What can leadership do? Why has it happened in Gulf? So what we've seen in last couple of days is that shipping routes have been disrupted. Oil prices have surged. They've gone past $100 a barrel. Military deployments have become intensified. The airstrikes by Israel and America on Iran are actually in a bad state. The narrative everywhere is what? This is a crisis. But here is my position. I, for one, feel that real crisis is not Strait of Hormuz. Definitely not Strait of Hormuz. The real crisis is leadership failure. Leadership failure. Might do that. Let me know in the chat box. Do you think that the wars are driven by situations or by the decisions of the leaders? Type situation or leadership, whichever is more convenient to you. Some said crisis, situation. Some directly said Trump. Very well. Let me take you forward to say every crisis has got two layers. One is a visible layer, like in this particular case, missiles, conflicts, F-35, B-2 bombers, leading to disruptions. They are all visible. Death and destruction is visible. Employment and deployment of forces is visible. What is invisible is the decision-making failure. One who makes the decision in the boardroom, in the parliament, or individually with their own advisors, the leader who takes the decision. Somewhere that leadership decision has failed. Geography can create pressures, but leadership decides escalation. Whether it will escalate or the peace will prevail will be decided by the leader. Let me say this more clearly. No war is inevitable. It becomes inevitable through a series of poor decisions. And who takes these decisions? You and me. You and me as leaders. Who took decision on 28th morning? When on 27th of February this year, the talks failed. The third round of diplomatic talks failed in 28th morning, they were attacked. Iran was badly attacked. The top leadership wiped out. And at multiple levels, there are signals, there are warnings, there are opportunities to pause. So instead of going for war instantly, applying dand, as Chanakya said, apply Sam, Dam, and Bhed. Niti Shastra is of much use. What were those signals available in Sam? What were the warnings seen there? And what could have been done as part of Dam and Bhed? One did not appreciate. I wish President Trump had appreciated them. The leadership determines whether these signals are heard or they are ignored. What did Trump do? Did he hear them or ignored? Think about your own organization, your own career, your own life. Have you ever seen a small issue escalate into a big conflict? Saas bahu ki ladai starts with no reason. Ambiguity, uneasiness between friends, simply because leadership did not act in time. In this particular global scenario, when all chips are down, courtesy the leadership. It did not act in time. Type yes if you see this has happened. It is the leadership. They did not take action in time. Let me break it down further for you to understand the leadership failures. The first one is ego over the engagement. When you start prioritizing being right over resolving the issue, you say what I said is right and rest everything is wrong, rather than saying, okay, you may be right or wrong, but situation is this and let's sit and resolve. When that doesn't happen and you fight for your ego, the conflicts harden. The dialogues actually stops. The positions become rigid. What America said, Iran said, very rigid. And ego converts this tension into confrontation because the leadership did not relent. Second, reaction over strategy. Decisions taken in urgency, taken in hurry, when they're taken without long term thinking, actually, strategy fails. Leaders react to headlines. When leaders just start reacting on headlines and not on consequences, the strategy fails. The reaction creates escalation. And if you follow the strategy, it creates a stability. You just have to consider that can this situation materialize and become easy? How can happen? Reaction over strategy. Optics. Optics over outcomes. Where optics become more important than the outcome, leadership fails. Conflict continues or escalates. You know, why do leaders often act? Leaders often act for a couple of these reasons. Domestic approval. Does President Trump have the domestic approval? More often than not. Political signaling. Optics. Image management. President Trump wants to maintain its image, whereas the clergy or the hierarchy in Iran wants to maintain their image. When these are ignored, the long-term fallout is there. The short-term optics actually, they can trigger long-term disasters. So in this case, had the war not started on 28, all this death and destruction could have been prevented. The economic losses because of the closure of Strait of Hormuz could have been prevented. You know. Let me ask you a question. Which of these do you see most often? You know, the reasons. Type 1 for ego, type 2 for reaction, and type 3 for optics. Which one do you see most often? So I see a lot of people say just because of ego, people get into bigger conflicts. Let me take you to the corporate side and make a parallel out of it. That war versus what happens in corporate. Uh, Let me bring it closer home. We understand this better. It is our bread and butter, daily life. The same patterns, what you see in global conflict, exists inside our organizations also. Any organization you take. I don't have to name the biggest or the smallest organization, but they happen everywhere. The boardroom conflicts are order of the day. Leadership ego clashes every day. poor communication, misunderstandings between the teams. They are the everyday affair. We see it in every day of our life. A disagreement over the strategy. Because I disagree with you, so hell with you. So what's lost? I have lost sight of strategy. I have lost the vision and goal of the organization because I disagree with you. Because my ego is there. Because I said something and that must be withheld. I may be wrong. It is the power struggle. We have to get out of the power struggle and we have to get onto the struggle for the strategy. And if you don't do that, that does a lot of organizational damage. The scale is different. The scale is different at home, at office, corporate boardroom. The scale keeps on increasing. But what is identical is the pattern, the way we behave, whether ego, react, or we position ourselves and then don't want to move, happens. Strait of Hormuz, President Trump is putting more and more forces, and then he thinks the peace will come. Sorry. If you are in that leadership role in your organization, just think over. When was it last that you prevented a conflict from escalating? Type yes if you did, and type escalated if it went out of control because you did not react as a leader. Let's take a deep insight into it. There are opportunities, there are availed opportunities, and there are missed opportunities. How do they impact your and my leadership decisions? And we ensure that leadership decisions don't fail. Every major crisis passes through three visible stages. Right? Earlier we said two visibilities: visibility of geography and visibility of invisibility of the decision making. Here I am giving you three major crises that go through the invisible stages. The first is pre-crisis signals. In Forge, we say early indicators of battle, pre-crisis signals. Every crisis that has to come gives you an indication. Aane wala hai, aane wala hai. As leaders, we need to see that. They are invisible otherwise. Till it comes and hits you. The second is escalation triggers. Escalation triggers. If the pre-crisis signals are not monitored, not seen, not thought over, then the triggers start coming in, which may start the conflict or escalate the conflict. Again, in military parlance, we say late indicators of battle. They are the types when you start seeing the enemy flying aircrafts, enemy activities along the border. So they are the late indicators that he is coming in. Get set. And the third invisible stage is point of no return. When the first bullet is fired, when the first decision is taken, when the carpet is rolled out and say action, there's no point of return. Strait of Hormuz has gone through that point of no return. It is now win or lose. Somebody has to take a step back, but no one is ready. And when enemy attacks, point of no return. Kargil happened, point of no return, because they took that action. We got delayed in identification of the signals. The issue escalated and the war took place. Strong leaders, what they do is they intervene early in all these cases. They intervene very early. Whereas the weak leaders, they don't react, they don't think, or as and when they act or react, they are too late. Therefore, timing is leadership. And most crises are not sudden. You find these invisible signal stages coming in and going through till you actually hit the crisis. The leadership comes into battle field and actually get activated much before. When all these things happen, you find that these are the accumulated leadership failures over time. That's when crisis hits you. The battle starts, conflict starts, the boardroom fails, the company suffers losses. And in case you have to look into the insight into overall this, whether it is boardroom or pre-signals or positioning yourself, we need to take a step back and start thinking over, strategize. So, when you look at the, say, current global situation in the Gulf, don't just analyze the missiles and the movements, fires, losses, this side, that side. All television channels are full of all this. They are only actions. Just take a step back and ask yourself, what decisions led to this situation? What choices were ignored? And where did leadership fail? If you ask these three questions to yourself, whether for Gulf crisis or crisis in your organizations, you will have an insight into yourself, the leadership, and likely outcome of your decisions. Because in the end, it is not crisis that defines leadership. It is the leadership that defines the scale of this crisis. If leaders are strong, always alert, crisis will never come. Wherever they react, wherever they're slow, wherever they feel that situation will automatically improve, crisis is sure to come. Be very sure it is going to come. So whether it is home, boardroom, or the Gulf, leadership matters. The Strait of Hormuz may control the global oil, LNG, and so on. But leadership controls whether the world moves towards the conflict or moves towards stability. Peace will prevail or war will continue is decided by the leadership controls, the decisions of the leadership. And what is it that you and me can think differently? What is it that we can do? In this talk, if you have considered and if this perspective made you think differently, that it is not the action, conflict, or anything else, it is the leadership failure. If this is the different thing that you have observed, do share with someone in leadership position that may help him or her. And if you want more insights into this leadership or in real world crisis, do follow and stay connected. We all can interact, talk, help each other to grow. Thank you so much for watching. Namaskar, Jai Hind, and do follow and subscribe. Thank you.